The LG Procast, the podcast, is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views or opinions expressed by the podcast hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the official position of LG. For the latest and most accurate information about LG products, please consult relevant product manuals and related documentation. The information provided in this podcast episode is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, we make no representation or warranties of any kind, express or implied, about the completeness, accuracy, reliability, or suitability of the information for any specific application in the following discussion. LG and those posting or otherwise providing information, content, or material are not responsible or liable for any consequences relating directly or indirectly to any action or inaction you take based on the information, content, or other material on the podcast.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the LG Procast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Terry Frisenda. Joining me today from Orlando, Florida, Mr. Philip Craigbaum.
Thanks for having me, Terry. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Lots of fun. So we've got a great guest here, and you and I have harped, I don't know how many hours on contractors about load calcs. And so we finally get to have Shelby Breger with us from Conduit Tech. If you guys have not seen Conduit, we're going to unpack what that is and what they do. So Shelby, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's fun to be here.
Awesome. So I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about Conduit, where you started, what it is, what it does, and why every residential replacement contractor in the entire country needs your product.
I love it. Okay. Well, I'm Shelby. I'm one of the co-founders here. And to kick it off, how do we start here? Well, we looked at all of the sort of challenges that came with doing a really great install and really great quality work for a homeowner, and how little of it a homeowner understood. And so we started trying to figure out, okay, with this huge rise in heat pumps, mini split systems going into the market and becoming more and more popular, how do we make sure that this work is easier to get done? And contractors can do a great job for their homeowners and showcase that work while they're doing it. Because the best contractors were all doing these heat load calculations that took forever, 2 hours in the office, preventing them from going to more jobs, as well as showcasing to the customer all the work that went into it. And so that's where we started building, is we started reaching out to contractors, understanding the challenges that they were having to really design and sell high quality installs. And ultimately, we tested a bunch of different products to try and make those installs easier. A lot of them were absolute garbage. But before we sort of wrapped up our efforts, we started testing this prototype around how could we use LiDAR to scan homes, build out models, and use that as a foundation and a customer engagement experience that we could build a load calculation on top of. So when we released that to the market just in a prototype form, what happened was something completely different. People were like, when can I have it? And we're like, okay, we will leverage your insights so we can build this for you and make sure it is a great product for you. So that's how we got started. That was back in 2021 when we started working on this. 2022, we incorporated and we started selling our product at the end of 2023. And it's been absolutely wild since. We're super privileged to be an LG partner and work with amazing contractors across the country.
All right. So for the contractors who maybe don't know what Conduit Tech is, give me the entry level version. Just tell me the basics of what it is, and we'll pack it out.
The basics. So it is a design and sales software for residential HVAC contractors. What that means is you walk into a home, you scan the home using LiDAR imaging, which is just a fancy camera technology. And what it does is it builds a 3D model of that home, a 2D floor plan, and the load calculation that's ACA certified, all in 15 minutes or less. And the goal is that the customer is coming along that journey with you and seeing how your design of that system is coming to life, not just with that 3D model, but augmented reality that helps them visualize what that install is going to look like and helps really build that value for that customer. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
So you're saying gone are my days of, hey, that looks good for my house, rule of thumb?
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully, yes. You know, it's been a pet peeve of mine, and you know, as the elder at this table, I started doing load calcs by pencil and paper, right? And that was my job as a young installer, was sitting down and figuring out, because it's an important part of what happens in the HVAC selection process. You know, just because there was a two-ton system there doesn't mean there needs to be a two-ton system there, right? You know that better than anybody. You know, Was the 2-ton correct in the beginning? We don't know. Did they change envelopes? Did they change windows? Did they do things that make this a different structure now? And that stuff's not getting asked as a general rule among the contractor base. And that's where the breakdown happens.
I have to tell you, my favorite customer call I've gotten in the last year was this gentleman, Glenn, out of North Carolina, gave me a call and he's like, Shelby, I have to tell you, I just got a customer call back. And I was like, oh my God, this is not good. And he's like, I went into this house. It was a 5-ton system. And I went in, the right load calculation coming out of the software was a 2.5 ton. He's like, I checked it with everyone in my office and we couldn't not do a 2.5 ton. They put it in, the customer gave him a call a couple weeks later and was like, I have never been so comfortable in my home in my life, because they had a humidity problem. And I think about that call all the time, and we've started getting more and more of those, of people taking that leap, what feels like a leap of faith, but a leap of math, to say, like, I need to downsize the system pretty dramatically to deliver the best results for my homeowner. And I think that can be very daunting for a contractor new to load calculations, but I think that's our goal, is to reduce that barrier to entry and make it possible to feel confident in your results and also feel confident in what you're going to install.
So I pick up phrases from folks, and I just learned one from Shelby. It's not a leap of faith, it's a leap of math, because I talk about math and charging our systems, refrigerant systems, all the time, and math just doesn't lie. It's always right.
We love
give
that.
it the right information. And I have very similar stories from when I was selling, of taking out 4 tons, putting in 2.5, 3 tons. And it's a little scary the first couple of times, but I was out there, tape measure in hand, laptop on the table. And I did it in the customer's home, but it was a lengthy process. I would have absolutely loved to have been able to do it, walk through their home. And I'm talking block loads mainly, just for a replacement. If I could have done a room by room, ACA certified, holy smokes. I mean, and the amount of time that would save me.
For sure. And I think this is something that when we thought about what we were building here, we wanted to make something that made the contractors who are already doing this really stand out, because what now separates them from other folks who are new to load calculations or using Conduit is the way they can explain what they're doing and use it to engage the customer. Because maybe you're still spending 2 hours on site building that value with the customer, but you don't have to spend it measuring independently, because the homeowner, they're going to get bored. Now, if it's a fun tool and it's visual and they can see the results and why it matters and how heat is moving in and out of the home using visualization tools that we have, they can actually feel excited, and they can also honestly just build trust. It's unfortunate that there is so much trust that has to be built when you come into somebody's home, but the more time you can spend building that relationship and that trust, the better for the contractor.
And I see it as one of those things where you could use it to break the ice, make it a little bit of fun. It's not a fun process to sell an air conditioner or have to buy one, but hand your iPad to the homeowner, let them scan a couple of rooms, let them play with it, and you can joke around. They're helping you design their own system or verify their size or whatever the case by case is. It's so much better than a laptop and a tape measure and drawing all these things out and measuring this, and it's fun.
I'm thinking about when we change HVAC systems and we go to multiple indoor units from a single outdoor unit, and how important when I'm doing these room by room loads, and that we're showing people, Shelby, across the country, the multi-zone technology is oversizing indoor units in these spaces, and then having to deal with capacity index issues, when you can literally take your tool, scan that room and say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is why I can't put a 7,000 BTU ductless unit in this room, because it's oversized, and all the things that you spoke about prior with humidity management and things like that are more of a problem. So it has more power for me in that.
Yeah.
Well, we had a conversation off camera, and I asked Shelby a very specific question. The tool not only provides the load summary, but it also has the capability to calculate the CFM requirement for that space. And so my pointed question to Shelby immediately was, what's determining that? And so I'll let Shelby answer it, because she's the smart one.
No, not at all. It's the user input, right? Once you select the equipment, you want to use the blower value off of that equipment to determine what your airflow is by room. And so we ask that from the person who is the expert in the home, and then we'll do the math for you. That's the easy part. You're the one who's determining what that right matchup is, and then you get to plug it in.
Yeah, we're not using rules of thumb. It's not 400 CFM per ton because, I mean, we're in Orlando, and Orlando is not a 400 CFM per ton market. I mean, you're running 325, maybe 350, but then you go out to Phoenix, they're running 500 CFM per ton. You know, having the ability to put in the correct data is phenomenal. And I love how Conduit does it. They make the beginning process really, really simple. And you didn't really cover this, but you put in the address, right? It's going to pull the weather data for the local weather bin. And then it's also going to find the age of the house if it can, right? And once it finds the age of the house, it's going to know what the building materials were typically used at that year or what the code requirements were. And it's going to default that. And then the contractor goes in and goes, okay, well, this house actually has different windows or different insulations. And they make it correct, but it does 80-90% of the basics for you, get you started, let you dial it in 15 minutes is
Absolutely.
kind of your average time.
You nailed it.
Yeah, I kind of like this stuff. I'm a big proponent.
I love it. But it is true, right? Like, one of the things I always think about is in my first job, it was always like, we need something to react to, right? You might know, hey, this is a window, it's double paned, but do you know exactly the frame type? Do you know exactly what the emissivity level of a low E window is? Probably not, unless you still have the sticker. And I think it comes down to, what am I supposed to do here? And minimizing the amount of like mental leaps that you have to make in the field. And especially thinking about what's happened to the trades over the last 10 years is we're seeing so many people, every time we onboard somebody new who's joining one of our existing customers, they're not coming from the industry. They're coming from car sales, which is amazing. Like, they're great people who have great selling skills, but they don't have the HVAC knowledge. So how do we lower the barrier for people to get access to really amazing roles and jobs and contribute to their companies?
Yeah.
So you're saying I should have pulled those stickers off my windows when they're...
I mean, hey,
What? The tag on my pillow says I can't take that off by law.
I mean, we'll be able to better size your air conditioning unit if you leave them on. So please do.
No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I mean, I don't even know where to say thanks, because you're addressing incorrectly sized heating and cooling systems. And, you know, whether it's in the north or the south or east, or it doesn't matter. When it's wrong, it's wrong. And when I talk to a builder and there's a problem with the comfort system in the home, and it's always the first call for a homeowner when they move into a new home, my system doesn't perform like I expected it to.
Yeah. It's too important. You know, it's too important to not get right. And as a contractor, that's what you're there to do, is to provide comfort. Sizing the equipment properly is the biggest and first step to doing that. So yeah, I applaud you, Marissa, I believe it is, your co-founder. Two amazing, brilliant ladies who have really brought some cool stuff to our industry. And I'm excited to watch it take off.
Well, now I'm blushing, but I have to say it comes down to not just us, but our entire team. And then realistically, it's the contractors we work with. We were at a symposium this past week, and our initial beta users were contractors who came from the industry that I met there in 2022. And they were just willing to give us their time, which is the most valuable thing anyone has. Give us their time to give feedback on something that might be totally worthless down the road. And people just wanted to do that for the industry. They didn't want to do it for Marissa and I. They were generous enough to do it for us. But they're like, if we can help move this industry forward and make it easier for people who are entering this now, we want to help. And I think that has been amazing for us. It's been a reflection of what the contractors that we first met wanted. Now it's a reflection of the hundreds and hundreds of contractors we work with today. But when we get feedback, that's what informs the product. That's what drives whether, our CFM report uses a rule of thumb or not. That was our engineering team. They would not let a rule of thumb fly. But it really, in terms of the functionality and the features that we put out there, it really comes down to what do our users want and need and what's going to make their lives easier in the home. And that's critical. It's critical for everyone who's working in this industry, because there's so many freaking steps that it takes to get an install right. And sizing's the first one, but it's everything thereafter. How do you hand that off to your install team well? How do you make sure that when the equipment is serviced, that it's treated appropriately? It starts with that design and then continues onward.
Yeah. I met you a year-ish ago, and we started talking about this equipment. I was privileged to be one of the first ones at LG that was able to work with Shelby. And the product that I saw then and the product today is leaps and bounds. It's continuing to evolve. I mean, you guys are listening to the contractors. You're getting the feedback going, hey, what if we did this? Can we add this? Can we change this? And I love it that you guys are so in tune that you're like, yes, we can change that. And before you know it, here it is. It's rolled out in the next update. It's great.
That's a good point. So I purchased this program from you guys. Are there auto updates and things like that? All that happens like you would expect it to?
Yes. So it's an app on an iPad Pro, and we download it and we improve it. And we push those automatically updates to you. And as long as you have your settings enabled, you get it as soon as it comes out. And it's funny because sometimes we do change a workflow and we like announce it like 15 times before we do so, because we don't want you to get stuck on site and not feel comfortable with what it is. But we always are trying to improve it because there's so much to improve. And I think any software company that doesn't improve continuously is definitely missing the mark, because it never ends. There's always a better idea of what we can do.
So it's called Conduit Tech, Apple only. Has to be an iPad Pro because the Pro model has the LiDAR detector. That's cool. I mean, they're the ones that give you the hardware that you need to run your cool software. So, yep. That's where they find you. They download the app and they can sign up right in the app, I'm assuming? Or how do they go about finding
through
you?
us.
Okay.
So you go to our website, getconduit.com, and you can book a demo and reach out to our team there. We're always excited to meet, especially folks across the industry, but we are an LG partner, so we love working with LG contractors.
So you're not just invisible. There's actually ways for guys to get in touch with you.
Exactly.
Get support that they need.
Yes.
Demonstrations, education.
Absolutely. So we know that a software is only as good as the service that comes with it. There's a reason it's called software services as a category. And what we've learned is that, garbage in, garbage out for any software. That's not just true about us. It's true about your field service management. It's true about anything. And so what was really important to us is that, especially as we make the product better, that we want to be learning from our customers as they learn. So if we figure out in our onboarding process that something is really hard to teach people about, that's actually a reflection of our product. That's not a reflection of the user. So we'll overcome it by doing a better job at onboarding until our product catches up. But that's a big part of our ethos. So in terms of what our process looks like from an onboarding perspective, it's included. We want to make sure that people are getting trained by us and then have us to reach out to for support. So we do 3 onboarding sessions with every one of our customers to make sure that they feel confident and comfortable with what they're doing before they go and do it on site. Because a key piece of this is that homeowner engagement. How can you make sure that you're using this design to sell and engage the customer so that the customer understands what they're buying? It's not just making the sale for the sake of the sale, it's education. And that's a big piece of what we're doing. And so we need to provide the support to our contractor base to make sure they feel confident providing that to their customers. So that's what it looks like. And then support, we operate phone and email lines because we want to make sure people get a response. It's important to get the design right. And so we offer to any of our customers, if they want to reach out and have us review a project with them, we'll do it live and we'll go through all the inputs and make sure all the outputs make sense, and go from there.
That's phenomenal. And LG Pro dealers, contact your LG salesperson.
Exactly.
Some specials for you there.
Exactly.
So yeah, reach out to your LG salesperson or your distributor, and they will get you connected up with Conduit Tech for our LG Pro dealers.
Indeed.
Awesome. I don't know what else to say.
I love it.
I mean, that's a product that's time is long overdue, would be a fair way to say it. But it's great that you guys are focused on it and moving forward. And I know this young man who's sitting next to me has been a fan since like day one he saw it, and so I trust his judgment. He's good at what he does.
Well, we've been very grateful for LG's support, and Philip kicked it all off, truly. So we're privileged to work with the entire LG team now on the sales side, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun. Shelby, anything else you want to throw in there before we close out? Just any other nuggets of...
No.
All right.
It's been fun.
Well, it has been fun. Thank you for making time. I know you're very busy. I appreciate you coming by, spend a little time with us. Everybody, thanks for joining us for this episode of the LG Procast, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
This episode of the LG Pro Podcast was recorded in February 2025 by LG Electronics USA Inc., LG, and features a discussion between LG hosts Terry Frisenda and Philip Craigbaum and guest Shelby Breger, co-founder of Conduit Tech, about Conduit Tech's software tool. Conduit Tech is a preferred vendor for LG Pro dealers, and the Pro dealers are able to purchase products from Conduit Tech at LG's negotiated prices. LG is not affiliated with Conduit Tech and does not endorse their products or services. LG disclaims all liability and is not responsible for any damages or issues arising from the use of Conduit Tech's products or services. Links mentioned in the podcast, Conduit Tech's website, getconduit.com.